Hi, I'm Latoya, and today I'm going to talk to you about something very important when it comes to emergency management, and that's the risk and vulnerability assessments. Whether we're talking about hurricanes, house fires, or man-made threats like terroristic threats, understanding how to assess these risks and vulnerabilities or weaknesses ahead of time can help save lives and communities. To start off, I want to first define some important terms that FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, defines. The first one being the hazard itself is a source of potential harm. This could be a flood, a hurricane, fires, or a terroristic attack that has the potential to harm people or property. Then you have the risk, is the potential for loss or damage. If this hazard happens, what type of risk can we expect or have happened in the past? This could be the loss of life, property damage, destruction of roads, or of farms and produce. The vulnerability, which is how unprepared or weak something is. That could be a poorly constructed home. Then we have exposure, which can be what are the people, the property, and the systems that are exposed to the hazard. This could be thought of the people who will be mostly affected by this hazard. We have to think about this because the higher the exposure, the higher the potential for risk. Now that we have the definitions in place, let's talk about the similarities between a risk assessment and a vulnerability assessment. The risk assessment evaluates the likelihood and the consequences of a hazard event. It looks like what could happen and how bad will it be. And then the vulnerability assessment digs just a little bit deeper, and it goes into how prepared or exposed people or systems are to hazards. It's more focused on finding the weaknesses to prepare against the possibility of it happening. The similarities are they both are proactive planning tools. Both prioritize mitigation strategies, and both are based off of past events, population data, and infrastructure. The differences are risk assessments, they quantify threats or help you see the big picture, and a vulnerability assessment, it highlights the weaknesses and the specific weaknesses of a certain area, and they give a guide to improvements or mitigating those risks. FEMA has so many resources on their website, but one of the resources they have is a 4-step systematic risk assessment process. This process helps to identify risks, and here's a breakdown of those steps. Number 1, you want to first identify the hazards. You want to look through historical data, archives, local knowledge, maybe talking to community representatives who have maybe lifelong residents, some older residents, or different trends that you have noticed in certain areas regarding flooding, hurricanes, or maybe even a area of a town that hosts events that usually turn out large crowds. Secondly, you want to profile the hazard events. You want to analyze the frequency, the duration, the magnitude, and the timing. This hazard profile you could use by old maps and models, maybe in older emergency management plans. So basically, you're looking at how often, how bad, and how long the hazard has occurred. Thirdly, you want to inventory your assets. Basically, what is at risk? This includes people, buildings, the infrastructure, the economy, the environment. What type of things can be, what kind of things are going to be lost, greatly affected. And then fourthly, of course, you want to estimate your losses. You use tools and models, they say, to calculate the potential losses, whether it's economic, human loss, structural loss. The helps make decisions that prioritize resources. What are the costs and the impacts from this particular hazard happening? This information can be found by using past reports after major storms, after major incidents. What kind of loss were reported? What did the state report was its loss? How did they respond to the rebuilding of the communities after a particular loss? So you might ask, why does this matter? So understanding the risk and vulnerability assessments isn't just, something that we learn. It's not just about a class. It's actually life-saving process, and that helps save communities from catastrophic events. It reduces the loss of life and property. It helps you design better emergency response and mitigation plans. Target funding. FEMA gives grants. You can even move towards having particular funding set aside for risk mitigation. Also, it helps build resilience in the face of threats, climate change, the current state of political affairs of the world. Risk and vulnerability assessments are fundamental in emergency management. They help us not only to understand the risk, but also help to mitigate the damage and create safer communities. And I just wanted to share that although we're talking about maybe citywide, countywide, statewide risk and vulnerability assessments, but one can also use this for their personal life. You can do a risk and vulnerability assessment that you may have in your personal, the people in your household or your personal property. You can identify the hazard. What hazards do you have in your area? When it's a hurricane, is your home more likely to flood? Maybe you have certain trees. Maybe the electric always goes out with a storm, and it's even worse with hurricane season, so you're going to be without electricity for a while. And like just said, you can profile the hazardous events, or whether it's hurricane, fire, tree going down. Maybe your street doesn't have a good traffic light, and it's a lot of accidents in that area that cause issues. Inventory your assessment, the value of your house. What kind of documents will you need if you had to evacuate? Let's say your identification documents, birth certificates, your medications. Do you have medications stored? In case of a fire, maybe do you have a go bag with supplies, pre-packed medications, important documents, or do you have those documents stored in a specific area that even in the event of a fire, those documents most likely could be saved? Oftentimes a freezer or refrigerator, they tend to survive regular house fires. That's not chemical, specific chemicals that might do more damage. And then also you want to estimate your losses. I know we do this when we have homeowners insurance and things like that, but immediately like TVs, entertainment, but things of value like painting or firearms or different things that one might have that would have to be replaced. So that makes me think like it's important to keep the medications. If you have someone who has a critical condition, have the medications aside, extra medications. Try to get your medications ahead of time when we know hurricane season, or we're expecting a bad hurricane, that's important. If like me, you have a loved one who needs specific medication. But this helped me realize how vulnerable we really are, and the weaknesses. And the beautiful thing about when you do something and study something like this, you have time to adjust, you have time to prepare, try to mitigate your losses, so you'll be better prepared in the event that one of your identifying hazards, even in your home, happens.